Hi, how you doing? Rev Fred here. So, let me ask you a question. What would people say that you are? Would they say that you are a nice person? You're a patient? You are loving? Are you angry? Are you frustrated? Like, people interact with you, what would they say that you are? Yeah, would they say you are like you like to party? You're a partier. You had to say that you have an edge to you. It's interesting to for us to think about, how other people perceive us. And is it the same as how we see us? I was thinking about this because I'm thinking about, the way you are perceived and the way you perceive yourself. Because a lot of times we don't actually see ourselves the way we are with people. We see ourselves as how we want to be seen. And sometimes, and some people, and it happens more with women, I think, than men, that they see themselves as less than they actually are. Sometimes with men, we think of ourselves as greater than we actually are. That's just something that happens. Men are like that, and women are like the other way. So neither one of them are the way we're supposed to be. We should be conscious and aware of actually who we are and how we show ourselves to people, and so that means how they perceive us. I know for me with my walk and my faith that I want to be loving and compassionate and caring and all those things, but at the same time I can't be um, somebody that allows themselves to be run over because somebody else feels something that is not accurate. And if somebody says that I say something that hurt them, now it doesn't really happen very often, but if I did, and that's not my intent, they should, if they know me well enough, know that that's not my intent. I was thinking about it as far as friends, like male friends and stuff like that, even some other friendships that you would have with women, but mostly with men. This is the case. It's like if if a guy knows that you love them and you'll back them up, and if something goes down, you're right there beside him. You're not going to run off and leave them alone. You are there for them. You are a brother in arms. You would not leave them alone. You can pretty much say anything you want to them, and they'll take it as a joke. Even if you say really insulting things to them about themselves and other people in their lives, they'll just laugh because they know that you love them and you'll be there and you back them up, but you're just messing with them. I think a lot of times it is the way that we can help people in our lives who maybe are becoming successful or who are doing really good things, and we don't want them necessarily to be inflating their thoughts about themselves too much, and so we crack jokes and we make fun, and we jab at one another. Somebody else you might say the same thing to, and they don't know you well enough, it causes problems. But with people who are really well connected and they know who you are, they know what kind of person you are, it kind of doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. They will know that either it's a joke or you just messing around or whatever. I think that's a situation that's specific to people who actually have a relationship with you and know who you are. But you can't just carry that on with everybody because you don't want people to think. So this is something that somebody told me once a while back, is that sometimes I could be mean to people, and that was a blow to my belief about who I am, because I don't feel mean. I'm not angry. I don't feel like I want to hurt anybody. But sometimes I think you have a tendency to like be sarcastic, and so and this was my case, that people who were maybe being mean to other people or not acting appropriately, my barbs would come out, and I would make a sarcastic remark that was very poignant and pointing right at the same critical nature that was coming out of them. And because maybe they didn't realize that they were doing things that were mean, and then I kind of felt this whole, I needed to teach them what it feels like, and then I'd just make a sarcastic comment that would make what they're doing glaring obvious to me, but not to them. And then other people around would say that they felt like I was being mean to them, which wasn't my intent. It was more of a, how would you like it if somebody did this to you kind of a situation. But it wasn't carried over because they didn't even realize that they were doing the things that were mean to other people. So I have been told by not by many people, but a couple people that sometimes I could be mean. And and it was a shock to me. And then I had to literally go back into my memories of interactions with people and say, okay, how did I interact with those people? What did I do? How did I act? What did I say? And I had to realize and recognize the fact that, yeah, there's sometimes that I have a sarcastic nature that can come up pretty easily. That is very, because I'm a quick thinker, and I don't even have to think about like the context. I can easily flip out a sarcastic remark that's pertaining to the situation without even thinking too much about it. And so I had to learn to control those things, and learn not to say those things, and learn to say, okay, this might not carry over well in this circumstance, so I'm not going to make a sarcastic comment because, first of all, they're not going to understand what I'm saying anyways, and it's not going to really do any good. It's not like they're going to actually see what they're doing is wrong. They're just not going to see it. They're not going to understand. Which made me think about me. It's like maybe I didn't see my actions and my behaviors. Maybe I didn't understand about why I was doing what I was doing. And so I had to really look at that, and really think about that and say, okay, well, maybe at times there I can be mean. So, I looked into it, and I realized, yeah, I do have a sarcastic bite that can be pretty um, um, hurtful, I guess, if you're not in the understanding or in the context of the situation. Um, it also is something that is a gift for friends and family who actually find it entertaining that I can come up with a sarcastic barb pretty quickly in a circumstance, and it becomes a point of entertainment and comedic relief within a hard situation, which is good. But you just have to know when to hold them and know when to show them, know when to walk away and know when to run. That's all you have to do. And so I wanted to talk about this because I wanted to say, if you have a true understanding, and if you have anybody in your life or people in your life that you can go to and say, describe me. What kind of a person am I? What kind of attitude do you think I have? What kind of behaviors do you think I do? Like, what is it? Like, describe me. If you were to tell somebody, and don't fluff it up. Don't say, "Oh yeah, you're a good person." No, I don't want to hear. What you think I want to hear. What I want to hear is the truth. What do you see? And so I've done that with people after that, and to ask questions. And most of the time I hear positive things. But there was a couple times, like I said, people said, sometimes you could be mean. Okay, I got it. I understood. And then, there was a time too, like nobody said it to me, but I got it. I watched other people in certain circumstances, and somebody would say, oh, I did this, or I'm going through this. And then somebody else would say, "Oh yeah, I did that and I did this." And there was always this thing about trying to um, top up their story and say, "Oh, you did that," and "Oh yeah, but I once did this. I once did this. I once went here. I once went there." And And I know that it's something that I do, and I had to really seriously look at that and say, okay, am I doing it because I want to show off that I know more, or I do more, or I've been this place, or I've been that place, you know? And for me, it's not the case. For me, how I feel about me is that I just want to relate to people, and so sometimes if somebody says, "Oh, but well," I can say, "Yeah, I've done that. I've been there. I did this for a job, and I understand where you're coming from." Just so I can relate to them, and then they can know that they can relate to me. But it's very, very, very possible and very, very probable that actually some people might think that I'm a bit of a know-it-all because I have so much areas of interest that I've had and I've researched and looked into, and I understand a bunch of things. And so I quickly could either dive into a conversation, and it could make me look like I'm acting like a know-it-all. Like I know about that. I know about this. I know about that. I know about this, and yeah, even though I might know about it. So there has been times in not so recent past that there's a conversation taking place that I know the right answer to the situation, but I have a check in my spirit about just blaring out what I have. I the knowledge that I have, just go and throw it out there. But so I would hold off and I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't add to the conversation, even though I knew the answer. It just felt like I think I need to control that. Just because I know the answer to everything doesn't mean I need to tell everybody what the answer is. And so there was quite a few times where I felt in my spirit that I needed to just not answer that question, just not throw my opinion out. If I'm not directly involved in the conversation, I don't just shout out what I'm thinking about. I'm just having a conversation. But if I'm not in the conversation, not just to step in and say, oh yeah, yeah, and answer the questions and act like a know-it-all, And so there has been times where I've on purpose held back that information. And if I felt like the information that was brought across was maybe inaccurate, I could offer maybe a little bit of a correction, but I didn't, and it's not like it was a critical situation where if somebody did the thing that they were talking about, they would have a big problem. No, it's just some people just need to learn, and so let them learn. And even if I said something, it may not be the result that I want. So I just don't say anything. So that's what I'm learning about me. Like I'm learning that, sometimes because of my vast knowledge that I have in all kinds of different subjects and areas, that sometimes I could be somebody who would just bleh, and give all this information and make it sound like I'm just bragging about the stuff that I've done and the places that I've been and the knowledge that I have. And it doesn't come across well. So I'm not saying that anybody's ever said that to me, but I can sense because I've seen other people doing it, and I can sense and see the reaction that people are getting on the other end, like their eye rolling, like, oh my God, is this person just talking again? Just wanted to share. And I'm like, I don't want that to happen on my watch with me. I don't want them to think that I'm always just giving my 2 cents, even if I'm not asked for it. And I have some people who are, people that I interact with and I maybe minister to, and they're very, very good at saying, I'm not looking for an answer in this situation. I just want to talk. Perfect. I'm a good listener, and I don't necessarily always have to have a solution. I don't always have, and sometimes I don't have a solution, but I can think through what might be a solution, but sometimes I don't need to. I don't need to think through. Sometimes they need to get the revelation from God and not from me. Sometimes they need to get that information based on the information they have inside of themselves, where they think through a subject, think through a process, and they come up with a solution. And the solution might be different than what I would do, but it still gets the job done. And they came up with it. So if they came up with it, they're going to stick to it better because it was their thought, not mine. So, you know, I say that all this to say that, sometimes we don't really recognize how people perceive us if we don't take the time to actually look at our actions and our way we talk and the way we act, and if we're um, it's almost funny to think, because like for me, I could be very outgoing. I could be cracking jokes and being the life of the party, being in the middle of all this stuff and just going for it. Like I was at a wedding the other day, and I know that I could have gone on the dance floor and just tore up the dance floor, but I didn't feel like it was okay to do. I felt like, you know what, I'm not going to go on the dance floor and tear it up, because there's a bunch of people having a good time, and I don't really need to. It doesn't affect me. They maybe are very happy with what they're doing and their dance moves and all that kind of stuff. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go on a dance floor and just make everybody look at how good I can dance. Like, what for? Like, just because? No, I don't think it's a good idea. And I wasn't really up for it either. But it was a thought that popped in my head. It's like, why would I want to go up there? So I ask myself these questions all the time. I ask, not ask myself these questions all the time. Why? Why would I want to do that? And what result would I get from that if I did do it? And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's actually a very valid thing. I was thinking about it in my head, and it's like, there's a very young person who acts very inappropriately most of the time, and I was thinking about how could I communicate with that person in a way that will give them wisdom and information to be able to. But sometimes you just have to not say anything, because it's, first of all, it's not your place, and second of all, they won't necessarily receive what you have to say. It's like, I believe that there is like three parts to all actions that we do. There's the not good, I wouldn't say evil, but not good actions. There's neutral actions, and then there's good actions. And so when we do things, like, what is our motivation for doing those things? If we get angry with somebody and we lash out at them, it's not necessarily something that's going to be positive result. But if you hold back all the time and you never say how you feel, and you never actually stand in your belief system, and you let somebody else take all the lead in that area, that's not good either. So that's the weak part of yourself that doesn't feel like you're worthy of saying something, and that needs to change. But also at the other end, if you're feeling anger about a situation and you just want to lash out at somebody, that's not good either. You need to look at that and say, well, why would I lash out? That's not going to make anything better. Maybe I should just calm down and learn to, and then go. And then you have the good side, which is the God side, that has you calm, peaceful, and then just expressing how you feel in a situation, and how it impacts you, and not accusing people because what their actions were doing. It's a very specific thing to do, but I think it one of the most critical things that we need to do in life. I mean, for life, like the whole thing, is being conscious and aware of our actions and our motivation and why we do what we do. So sometimes we walk in, like I've already talked about this quite a few times, we walk in programmings from our childhood because somebody said something to us that we believed, and now we still believe it, and we're walking in that even though it's not even relevant anymore, and we don't have no need to be walking in that, but we walk in it because it's our habit. And we should look and see, why are we doing that? Why are we reacting that way? Why, when somebody says to you, oh, that's not good enough, that it automatically you feel like you're a loser, you can't do anything right? Well, because you have a bunch of programming that's making you feel that way. When, if somebody says to you that's not good enough, you should be able to look at it and go, well, for me it's good enough. Or you might be able to look at it and go, maybe they're right, maybe it's not good enough. And you look at it and say, well, yeah, you're right, maybe I can do better. Nothing wrong with that. That's like what we should do. We should be able to look into those things and figure those things out. So we need to be conscious of ourselves. Most of us walk around, most of us live our life reactionary and not proaction. And so they just react in life, and they don't think, and they don't pay attention. They're not looking around to see what's happening around them. They're not wondering why somebody doing something else. They don't care. They're just doing their own life and they don't care what happens around them. And sometimes they're not even paying attention. That's why accidents happen so often. People just are not paying attention. They're focused on something else. They're doing something else. They're not focusing on what's happening. They're just mindlessly going through the pattern and they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. Well, it doesn't have to be a car accident. That could be an accident by saying something you really regret saying or doing something you really regret doing. So I think we all need to become more conscious of who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it. It sounds daunting, but once you start doing it, it actually becomes um, interesting because you start seeing the world as it is, not as you perceive it to be, which is a big difference sometimes. Sometimes it's a big difference. And then all of a sudden your eyes start to open and then you start seeing patterns and things and you start realizing that, the world we live in is not controlled by good people. They're controlled by people who want to use you to make money. They want to use your sickness to make more money. They want to use war to make more money. They want to use poverty to make more money. They want to use whatever they can to make more money, to gain more power. That's what it's all about. And everything that happens, if it's not a good thing, is always for that purpose. Like who profits from war? Who profits from homelessness? Who profits? Because people are profiting from all those things. You start going into it, and all of a sudden you can find governments and all kinds of other deep states and all that kind of stuff that are profiting from the things that are causing misery on the people who actually live on the planet. Because a few people are profiting from all those things. There's few people who are profiting from war. There's few people who are profiting from homelessness. There's people profiting, and then there's a whole society that we live in that's created based on, you know, somebody somewhere wants to profit more and have more power. And if they need to destroy people's lives, they'll do it. They don't care. But when we become more aware of why we react like we react, why things are happening around us the way they're happening, what's happening around us, once we start seeing those things, when we're no longer a sheep walking to be slaughtered, we're now uh, an intelligent sheep who can see the pattern and go, oh, why is that happening? Why is this happening? And then we can take a stand against those things. But as long as we keep mindlessly walking through life and thinking that we have no choice in a lot of things are going to happen and we're not going to have any power over it. So, anyways, that's my message for today. It's like we need to be conscious of why we think the way we think, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and just be full of wisdom in that area. Just like don't expect that you know everything. Expect that you don't know a lot. Then you need to learn more things. And try not to be the person dominating a conversation. Let other people speak. Let other people learn things. Even if you have the answer, wait. Let people figure things out. They might figure it out on their own, and you can sit back and say, well, I don't have to say anything. They figured it out by themselves. Wonderful. You know? Or you see and you feel that there's a situation that's happening that people don't understand, maybe you can give wisdom in that situation. But when they see that you're not somebody who wants to dominate all the time and always wants to tell your opinion, well, then maybe they'll be able to listen. They'll go, you know what? I trust what he has to say because, or she has to say because I see that they're not always trying to force their opinion on everybody. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Well, brothers and sisters, I love you. 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 I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful week. I'll see you again next week. Sometimes stuff I'm talking about seems really difficult, and it is, but it's worth the effort. It really is worth the effort. You want to be walking through this life with your eyes open and aware of what's going on around you, including what's going on in you and what you are being perceived as. Wake up, recognize, change if you need to. That's it. Be humble. Love God with all your heart and mind and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. That means love yourself. Learn to love yourself. The only way you can love yourself is if you know yourself. The only way you can know yourself is by being aware of your actions. And then when you're aware of your actions, you get the blessed opportunity to be able to see other people's actions. And then you can love your neighbor as yourself. Okay. Love you. Bye-bye.